All right, we've been talking about, obviously, been thinking about quite a bit job creation, just jobs in general in Rhode Island. That's one of the hallmarks of Governor McKee's really his 2030 campaign or promise, or however you want to frame it, JOBS jobs. The question a lot of Rhode Islanders are left asking is, do we have those jobs? And also, if we get them, do we have people who know how to do them? That's the basic question. We have a roundtable discussion for you right now that'll touch on some specific events that are happening and some of the relationships in the private and public sector that are asking that very question. I think the best thing to do is for everyone to introduce themselves. We'll associate the voice with the person and get right into it. Nina, if you wouldn't mind starting.
Certainly, Bill. So, Nina Pande, I'm the executive director at Skills for Rhode Island's Future, and we focus on the people part of economic development here in the state through adult workforce development. We also do quite a bit with college and career readiness, making sure that youth have access to opportunities. And then, newest to our lineup for the last few years, we've been focusing on small business development through our Rhode Island Small Business Hub initiative, which is another form of employment, right? It is self-employment. And so when traditional employment is not an option for some, we look at self-employment as part of that economic driver here in the state of Rhode Island.
No doubt that small businesses and even individual proprietors are a huge driver of job creation anywhere, but particularly in Rhode Island. Jim, if you'd introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, hi, I'm Jim Cohill, Director of Commercial Lending at Bank Newport. I oversee the commercial team here at Bank Newport. Responsibility kind of helping small businesses through the growth of their business, whether it's acquisition, buying a piece of real estate, buying a piece of equipment, needing a line of credit to oversee kind of the day-to-day expenses of a business. And we work pretty much exclusively with the private sector, but we do intertwine on the public side as well. And yeah, here to kind of shed some light on what's going on in small business in Rhode Island.
Yeah. And again, that is a critical part of this. We're trying to paint for you, if you haven't noticed ever, that this is a lot of moving pieces that go into every nuanced part of our job creation, of our small business environment, of an individual proprietor environment. And that's what we're presenting for you here. Matt, if you do the honors of closing us out with these, is a little bit long, sorry, intros.
Absolutely. Thanks, Bill. My name is Matt Spare. I'm the Deputy District Director for the U.S. Small Business Administration's Rhode Island District Office. We are a team of 7 here in downtown Providence, and our district is one of 68 offices around the country. We take care of the state of Rhode Island. So everyone that works here, lives in Rhode Island, eats in Rhode Island, raises family in Rhode Island. And so our agency helps small businesses start, grow, expand, succeed through a number of our programs. And we partner with folks like Skills for Rhode Island Future, and Nina's team has been fantastic. Our resource partners that we fund, we have SBA lenders such as Bank Newport that help bring in the capital piece and whatnot. So we're really, a point where a lot of folks come to, and then we help get them connected to a lot of the resources that help them grow along the way.
Yeah, that growth piece is the challenge for so many small businesses. We're heading into, for so many people, frankly. I mean, let's be honest. National Small Business Week is coming up May 3rd through 9th. Let's start right now with an event that we were talking about it offline that's coming up. It's really interesting. The Small Business Summit on May 5th at the Crown Plaza. This is the kind of stuff that, piques a lot of people's interest because it connects the dots. If each of you could kind of talk about right now why it's so important for us from a small business ecology standpoint to connect the dots, whether that be ideas, funding, infrastructure, support, and also potential employees or partners.
You want to kick us off, Nina?
Sure, I'm happy to jump in here. So, Bill, 2 years ago, our agency and the SBA, we've been partnering on National Small Business Week now, actually going on 3 years. Last year was our inaugural summit. And it really came about after many months of conversations about small businesses, the owners needing to continuously upskill, reskill, and keep up with trends. We talk about that a lot on the adult workforce side, and we've had major initiatives here in the state of Rhode Island to make sure that we have people who are keeping up with emerging technologies, making sure that they're modernizing their own personal skills Well, that extends to small businesses as well, right? Because again, they are self-employed at the end of the day. And as we've been seeing really sweeping changes in how businesses are operating today, and I think COVID really accelerated the need for modernization, we felt it imperative, right? SBA, our organization, and others felt it really critical that we bring real connected learning in a professional development environment for small businesses. Oftentimes their learning ends when they finish school, and they need to continue just like with adult workforce development. And Matt, I know that this is something that you've been trying to work on at SBA for a while.
No, absolutely. I think one of the biggest things, with small business owners, they just don't know what they don't know, and there's so many different things that are out there, so many different resources that they either don't know about or they look at and they have a great website and they go, "Oh, hey, let me go pay this consultant, X number of dollars per hour." When there are so many free resources, and that's something that people don't quite recognize. I mean, you talk federal government, the warm and fuzzies probably don't come to mind right away, but with SBA and our partners and who we work with, all these resources that our agency through our partners we provide are free of charge. And that the summit is a great culmination of sort of showing that collaboration between us and the small business landscape and all the partners around the state, whether they're funded by SBA or not. You can show up and learn about just, hey, how do I put together a cohesive business plan to bring so I can go over to Jim and talk about getting some funding to expand my business or start it, to utilizing AI in my business, and so on and so forth. So we want to make sure that we're able to convene the small business community in one place throughout the day and give them exposure to all of this that they might not have known. It's okay they don't know that, but now we can help connect them to that to help them with whatever they might need.
Yeah, and Jim, if you could touch on the role that you play, I think the lending environment is an intimidating place. But whether, and by the way, this is if you're starting your first business. This is if you're an experienced entrepreneur because you're working with different vehicles and scenarios. So from your standpoint, how do you humanize the work that you do to say, hey, you've got an idea and we can make this happen? And by the way, yeah, there's risk, but it's not insane.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Ultimately, what I can tell you about the summit from my experience of have attending and been on the panel, it's a moment of transparency. It's a moment for all of these small businesses to come in, and whether you're at the infancy stage, as you mentioned, or you're a little bit more experienced and you're looking at your second business, there is room to have a conversation for everything. So if we're starting on the infancy side, there's a host of programs, resources. I myself, and we talked a little bit about the collaboration of the of all the speakers on the phone on the call today. We partner with Matt. We partner with the SBA for some of those newer businesses that are starting up and need access to capital. And there's free advice to be given all day long there, which is a beautiful thing because you will sometimes hear, and I've heard this kind of myth before, that I don't know where to start, or I'm afraid to ask a question around how to get access to capital. But the conversation is where it really starts in speaking to people that are providing that capital. I myself last year had probably 20 to 25 conversations with people that just didn't know where to start and how many different organizations are available within the state of Rhode Island that are willing to have that initial conversation to point you in the right direction. So I saw that at the summit as just such a great starting point for small businesses that are either entering the state or just entering into formation altogether. And then for your mid-tier and larger size, it's an opportunity to go a little bit deeper around how do I grow? How do I compete? How do I leverage things like AI and combat fraud and accept payments and be safe about how I run my business? How do I find the people? Because we always talk about more jobs, more jobs. There are also jobs out there that self-employed people can't seem to find help for. So we connect on that front as well and try to collaborate in a way to meet you and meet your business where it needs at all phases, whether it's infancy or all the way through the accelerated phase.
And
Yeah.
Bill, if I can just jump in here, if you wouldn't mind, off of Jim, and something I heard Jim talk about at last year's summit, it was to really humanize the experience of what it's like to go into a bank, right? So many people are intimidated and they don't think of the bank or they don't think of the SBA office as their starting point. A lot of times they look at it as their end point. And so we're really trying to give people that perspective that shifts. And one of the things that we do with Bank Newport, not just at the summit, but all year long is we have them come and talk as a lender to small businesses to really help reduce that fear and anxiety of saying, oh, you know what, my credit score may not be good enough, or, my bank account may not be as much as I need to go into a bank and think through those things. We really try to eliminate those barriers or those kind of self fulfilling ideas that people have in their head about, oh, I'm not good enough to get a loan, or I can't do this. And so we really try to bring it down so that every Rhode Islander sees themselves in this space. And if Jim can't do it, and if Matt can't do it, then how do we help you find other resources? And I think that I want to underscore what Matt and Jim said about it's really connecting people with, there's not just one, there's hundreds of opportunities out there.
Right. I completely agree. We just have a few moments left here, and I want to react to something and sort of also note how I opened up this podcast, which is talking about job creation. Look, the reality is right now, large firms are by and large, not exclusively, and there are sectors where this is absolutely the opposite. But we're seeing a movement away from Rhode Island from large firms, at least on the headline level. The small business sector, the micro business sector is an area for job creation that we have to think about. We cannot swing for home runs and count on that to produce jobs in Rhode Island. We have a robust small business and creative sector. We have to harvest it. That's my view. That's my assessment, which is why I think small business growth is equivalent to the job creation conversation. And I will react to an interview I heard with Rick Simone, Federal Hill Commerce Association, Rhode Island Small Business Association, where they were talking about a job fair they were having and the number of full-time jobs that they're offering. But when you press, you're talking about seasonal employment. That's not it either. We need people who are skilled with whether it's AI or any number of other contemporary and into the future types of skills, and the businesses that are supported by all the institutions on this call today to grow. This is a civic situation here. I'll ask each of you to react to that. The moment here in Rhode Island, why it's critical that we invest in small businesses.
Yeah, I'm happy to start and why we do it, because we completely agree that our path forward for economic development is not on the backs of 2 or 3 large corporations. It is with the development of small business. And I think, Bill, how we're trying to get people to think about their small business is, sure, you might start small here in Rhode Island, but we're also trying to build a regional mindset. We have some incredible sole proprietors, some consultants. How do we help them think about their business differently so that they can become the ones who are employing other people? We have great artisans that are here, great graphic designers, people who are incredibly tech savvy. We made a lot of investments on the adult workforce side, and we're starting to see in the tech industry either no hiring or they're starting their layoffs because of AI. Well, how do we get those individuals to actually think about starting their own consulting firm? Because there are going to be small and mid-sized companies who need that type of tech talent, who can't afford some of the large consulting firms. So how do we get them to think about that? That's part of what we're going to be talking about at the summit, right? Is how do you look at growth and expansion, not just in Rhode Island, but within the region, Massachusetts, Connecticut. There's a lot of economic activity that I think our small businesses can take advantage of. And another big thing is teaching them how to properly contract with the government. That is a major, major opportunity that I think a lot of small businesses here in the state miss out on.
Yeah, you could get a PhD in sam.gov. We've got 90 seconds left if we could get a reaction on that from both Jim and Matt.
Yes, I'll jump in if that's okay, Matt. So, I agree with you wholeheartedly, Bill. Easy come, easy go with the large corporate businesses. For me, organic growth of Rhode Island is dependent upon small business infrastructure. And, when you think about that, it aligns to our mission. There's 2 things that you'll see a lot of from an advertisement standpoint about Bank Newport: being the business bank of Rhode Island and Shop 401. And what each of those mean is, how do we provide access to capital to as many small businesses as possible to help them fulfill and achieve their dreams of being an entrepreneur and completing that cycle and growing the business and hiring more people, and whether it's multi-location and things of that nature. And Shop 401 is where we try to highlight those businesses. No longer is it just about banking them, it's also helping from a marketing standpoint. So if you've ever been to Clemmy's, or if you've ever been to Chomp, or some of the other businesses that we've highlighted, it isn't about us. It's about how we can help them become a bigger, better version of themselves through their partnership with us. So I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I think that it's going to take all of us. I've learned a lot about Rhode Island over the 6 years that I've been here, or 7 now. And one thing is that it's a very small niche community, but we also don't do a good enough job of collaborating enough across the state. And that's where I think there's a huge opportunity, and attending the summit is just one way to do that.
I could not agree more with that statement, Jim. Matt, taking us home.
Absolutely. No, our unofficial state motto here in Rhode Island is "I know a guy." And so we are uniquely situated geographically between Mass and Connecticut. So we have a lot of access to a lot of different businesses, but you just don't know who's in a room with you. So the summit, like Jim and Nina said, it's a first opportunity to come in and find out who those people are, because you're not in it alone. It doesn't matter whether you're working for someone right now and you're looking to get out, maybe you just got laid off, or you've always sort of dabbled with the idea of having your own business. There is someone there who is going to walk with you along the way. We are all working together with this. So it's scary, right? If it was easy to own your own business, everyone would do it. But there are so many resources out here available through all of us and our partners to help you with it, that we want it to be less scary for folks to come out and say, hey, can you help me with this? And that's what we're looking to do on May 5th.
Matt, Jim, Nina, thank you all for your time today. May 5th, Crown Plaza. You may remember it from your high school prom. That may be your most recent association. You'll have a better time this time, guaranteed. Financial Well-Being, presented by Navigant Credit Union here on Bartholomew Town. This month, we're joined by Amanda LaRose to talk about education, and really financial well-being is based on education at the end of the day as a starting place. Amanda, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
What is Navigant doing in the financial education space in our community?
We have a lot of events planned right now. We are working on some small business workshops, fraud awareness seminars, and our reality fairs that we go to schools and we do life.
And when you're out in the community, what sort of reaction are you getting right now? It's a moment where we certainly know that there's a lot of affordability challenges, and that makes people look a lot of different directions. One of them might be back at themselves to think about, how do I manage in this moment? What are you hearing in terms of feedback right now?
Our members and even non-members are grateful that we're out in the community doing what we do, that we're sharing the knowledge that we have, that it's coming essentially for free to them, right? We want to help them grow and build, and that's our role. And so they're grateful that we're taking our time out of our day to share with them the resources that we have. We're the experts, and we're just giving that to them.
You have a great, really fintech operation going in Navigant. It's been ahead of its time for some time. Talk about some of the resources online that are available for people at your website, on your app, and really throughout kind of the digital realm. Navigant's got it covered.
So we partnered with a company called Balance, who helps us with our financial education piece for our members. They provide short one-on-one video resources where you can learn about buying a car or buying a house. And these videos are not going to give you the overall everything that you need to know about it. But what they're really doing is making you aware of what the next steps are and then who to reach out to as a contact and a resource.
And with that in mind, also, of course, there is the branch, which you can go into. There are plenty of them now all over the state when it comes to Navigant. Why should people come in and get sort of that next level in person?
I think a lot of times if you're driving to a website, you may see just the broad overview of everything. When you're going into the branch, they really can sit down and talk to you about what is the best puzzle piece that fits for you. And a lot of times you don't know everything, right? Or maybe you gloss over everything on our website. But we have credit counselors who are geared to just help you build credit, build a budget, repair stuff. You may not know that if you don't know what to ask the right questions. So visiting our branches, talking to the experts in that field, they're going to point you in the right direction of what the next step is for you.
And when you're interfacing with somebody, whether it's a customer, whether it's a member, whether it's someone in your life, anybody,
Mm-hmm.
this is an area that I think can be unpleasant for some people to talk about, because either they're in a stressful moment or their ambitions haven't been achieved, whatever it is. Totally reasonable. what's the best place for a person to wake up in the morning mentally to say, you know what, let me get myself organized in this space? What's that starting point look like? Why is that critical to their overall well-being?
I think in the financial education space, I am constantly talking about people what I do, right? I value what I do. Navigant values what we do, and it's just a resource for people. But I always tell people when I'm meeting with them, don't be shy. I'm never going to judge you. I don't care if you have a coffee habit or a shopping habit, but if your goal in reaching out to somebody or even just talking about it is because you want to learn or improve, then you have to be okay with getting those resources and okay with sharing all the ugly truths that are out there.
Yeah. And as we navigate unprecedented times, it's great to have partners throughout the community that are steadfast, that have been there for, let's say, decades upon decades, that have your back. As things change, you want to look back and see the mountain that's been there your whole life. Potentially that may be Navigant, and if it's not, it could be Navigant CU,
Absolutely.
navigantcu.org. Amanda LaRose, thanks so much for your time today. Great info.